Good morning, everyone. We will be sharing some Zoom meeting guidelines for today. It will be the same like yesterday. We are asking everyone to change their name to this format. For executive committee, the format would be EC first name and then surname. For country partners, the two-letter country code, acronym of the ministry or department, and then first name and then surname. For non-country partners, it would be just the acronym of your organization, first name and surname. For observers, it would be observer, acronym of your organization, first name and then surname. We are also requesting to kindly stay muted unless speaking, and if possible, to use headsets or noise canceling equipment to resolve any background noise. There is also a Zoom background for the 13th Partnership Council meeting, and we are asking all the participants to use this. To call the attention of the chair, kindly please click the raise hand function on Zoom or use the chat box to get the Secretariat's attention. Should there be any concerns, please reach out to Karen C. for responses, suggestions, or questions, and then for June Lakaymat for Zoom-related concerns. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isa, for sharing our house rules for this meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the continuation of the 13th East Asian Seas Partnership Council meeting. Again, this is Karen C. from the PRF, serving as the Secretariat of the meeting. Yesterday saw a number of breakout sessions and plenary that resulted in several recommendations for developing the PEMSEA Roadmap and the next SDS-SEA implementation plan. Today, we resume with the technical session and proceed with the closing of the council and technical sessions before starting the intergovernmental session, to be attended by country partners and the executive committee after lunch. With this, I would like to call on Dr. Keita Furukawa, who shall be leading the technical session. Over to you, Dr. Keita.
Thank you, Karen, and good morning, our respective partners. I'd like to resume our technical session of the 13th ESPC meeting today. My name is Keita Furukawa, your co-chair of the technical session. I will facilitate today's technical session agenda on behalf of the Dr. O, the technical chair, session chair, and I'd like to have your kind cooperation for fruitful session. So just a brief recap of the yesterday, we already gone through the agenda 1 to 4, including breakout sessions for detailed discussion on the charting the PEMSEA Roadmap to 2030. Still, it's on the way, but we found a kind of direction for our action to realize SDS-SEA implementation or scaling up under grow, hold, and harvest strategies. Today, we will visit on the more specific action happening in this year. So let us open the agenda 5.0 for EAS Congress 2021. May I invite Mr. Long Disrek, Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Environment in Cambodia, for some remarks as the host government agency of the EAS Congress 2021. So Mr. Long, please take a microphone and session is yours.
Morning to all of these colleagues and friends. And thank you, Mr. Chair. That's what this technical session. And with your honor, and this allow me to convey this the floor to my Excellency Dr. Van Moninit, who was my head of this delegation of this from this Ministry of Environment Cambodia. So please allow me to pass this floor to the Excellency Dr. Moninit. Please, Nit.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me to update the important section. The section for item 5.0 regard to the EAS Congress 2021. I like to report to the country is regarding to the signing of the MOU between MOE, President will authorities, and PRF on the hosting of the EAS the Congress 2021 on behalf of the Royal Government of Cambodia through the Ministry of the Environment and Local Government of the President Will Province. We are pleased to inform the MOU on hosting SDS-SEA Congress 2021 has been on the way of the signed. That means that the PEMSEA, especially the AD Executive Director, has been already signed, and we are transform this the MOU to the governor of the President of the province now, and hopefully that we get back and giving to the Minister of the Environment will sign. This MOU, of course, they formalize our commitments to the PEMSEA and EAS region to ensure the smooth preparations and conduct of the various EAS Congress events and activity will carry out despite current by the pandemic. In line with the commitment, the MOE and President will authorities has already identified its national and local working group members who will be coordinated closely with the PRF on various Congress arrangements. Through the PRF, we are also identifying key collab forums or sections organized by various PEMSEA partners and conveners to the showcase Cambodia initiative and good practices on ICM and sustainable coastal marine development and management. We hope that other PEMSEA partners will also actively participate in this series of sections leading the December 1st and 2nd cumulating events. While we were really hope to personally welcome you all in Cambodia, the safety of everyone take precedent, and such as we know to maximize the use of visual platforms to continue fostering the spirit of the knowledge sharing and building on which the EAS Congress has been known for. So with this, I think that maybe during this week or next week, perhaps we can have our MOU signed. So that the update on the MOU at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rizek, and thank you, Excellency Mona, for the statements. And thank you for the great effort you already made. The update raised our expectation for the Congress. Well, so now I'd like to ask Ms. Karen C for the present the respective updates on the Congress from the PRF side.
Thank you, Mr.
Karen?
Chair. Also, thank you, Mr. Long. It is good to know that the rest of preparations on Cambodia's side of the Congress are already getting traction. On the PRF's end, I am pleased to inform everyone that we have made significant progress in the conceptualization, marketing, logistical matters, and the actual implementation of our Congress events. This includes the pre-Congress events, which is composed of a mix of organizational meetings such as this PC meeting and collabs. The latest details of these events can be found in the Congress 2021 website, which you may access through the link indicated on the slide before you. As mentioned in the meeting documents, we recently expanded the website to include the detailed lineup of activities and the individual page for each event's details. As a snapshot, here's the lineup of activities so far. As you can see, we have events as early as April. Our culminating events will be in December. For the collabs, we have a number of sub-themes which are further disaggregated into several topics, namely blue economy, gender equality, nature-based solutions, marine protected areas and marine protected area networks, oil spills, toxins and emerging chemical pollutants, marine plastic pollution, biofouling, climate change, integrated coastal management, and of course, marine spatial planning. This is an interesting lineup of activities so far. Used to be we only have limited events, but surprisingly, even under a virtual setup, we are able to entertain as many activities as possible. The next slides I'll show will feature samples of these collabs just to give everyone a preview. So these are just samples of collabs under the topics nature-based solutions and MPAs and MPA networks. And then we also have some collabs under climate change. Again, these are just samples. The full list of activities are in the Congress website. Now moving on to the main conference, here is the draft program outline. I am pleased to present to you this draft that I would like to get your comments on later on. First, we will have the welcome remarks from the host country, and then the message from the host local government, in this case, the province of PEMSEA. Then the message from the Partnership Council Chair. Then we proceed with the plenary, which will feature TEDx-style presentations on a number of cross-cutting topics from high-level speakers, such as from UNDP, and then from the AIIB president, and also from the Philippines National Focal Point for the IOC, Dr. Gil Jacinto. So these topics include promoting sustainable coastal and ocean governance in the run-up to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Then we also have here on blue finance towards blue economy. And of course, knowing that we are currently facing the fourth industrial revolution, we have a topic on empowering young scientists and promoting innovation under the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science. So this will be happening on December 1. We plan on having this main conference in the afternoon after the PNLG annual forum and also the PNLC inauguration in the morning. And then the rest of the main conference is as follows. We will be having a short break before proceeding with messages from a representative non-country partner of PEMSEA, also from the PNLG Secretariat, PNLC, and of course, the Global Environment Facility as one of the collaborators of PEMSEA. Then we proceed with the conclusions and recommendations from the EAS Asian Seas Congress 2021. This will include a recap of pre-Congress activities since months prior. Then finally, we have the turnover of the Congress flag to the next country host for the Congress. Then we proceed with the official close of the international conference and then the partnership night, which involves e-networking. So the action requested from PC members, Mr. Chair, would be to provide comments or suggestions on the lineup of activities on December 1 to 2. We would like to get the partners' inputs in case this is something that needs to be decongested further, and if ever there are certain activities that may need to be rearranged, and also their thoughts in general on the program outline for the main conference. That will be all on my part, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Kita.
Thank you, Karen, for the detailed explanation on the preparation. So the floor is open for now to getting the suggestions or your thought to brushing up the event. So if you have some comment, please raise your hand with the function of the Zoom or turn on the microphone and just call me. Do you have any thought? of course, welcome to the making a small sentences for the supporting the, these activities and some suggestion. Yes, I have the one hand from the ID is, excuse me. So
I believe,
Please,
Mr. Chair, we have from Indonesia, Director
I see, it's right.
Padilla. Yeah.
Yeah. Indonesia, floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair, Guru Kawasan, also everyone here. I think we continue to our meeting, the second meeting today. And thank you for the preparation, our agenda for EAS Congress. I only request in the agenda, for example, in 9 November, we have the agenda with nature-based solution. Yeah. I see also based our circumstances in also developed and developing countries. I think also there are balance issue for the topic, not only nature-based solution. Also, we increase the issue with ecosystem-based approach. This is we must to place the issue is balanced manner for nature-based solution and also for ecosystem-based approach. I think our PEMSEA not only we discuss only nature-based solution, also we continue to discuss ecosystem-based approach also. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Indonesia, for raising up the issue that the ecosystem-based solution is in line with the nature-based solution is an important point. Maybe I think this is very straightforward to cooperate with these two issues within the big umbrella of the thought. Do you have any reaction from the Secretariat or Cambodia side? The moment.
Mr. Chair, if I may, sure. We welcome the suggestion, of course, of Padilla from Indonesia. We shall consider his suggestion in further refining the concept notes of the collabs that are yet to happen, especially those that are related to marine protected areas and in integrated coastal management, because we have a number of those collabs, not only the ones featured in the screen. Thank you. Perhaps Indonesia is also interested in organizing some of these collabs. We can discuss this in a separate consultation, Padilla. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the positive reaction. And I also believe that the nature-based solution and ICN and ecosystem-based action is under the cross-cutting issues, so the many integration and collaboration should be done. So I hope the fruitful bilateral consultation makes some good action following. Okay, so any other thought? Do we have any? Not yet. If the floor doesn't have some additional strong comments, in my liberty to, or as a co-chair of the session, I'd like to have one suggestion for the main conference or the conference as a whole. I see the very wonderful presentation here. The importance of the EAS Congress happening is strengthening our network. So if possible, please thinking about how we can gather the individual voices from the partners. Maybe not in the main conference, but we can use the technology of the social network services or some sign-up board online or virtually. Maybe it can be happening in the partnership night with the networking. So it is better to have the hearing the lively voices from the partners in the in this EAS Congress. Just a suggestion, so that no need to take the action directly, but please consider if you like. Okay, any other thought from the participants or our partners?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes,
just a quick feedback on your suggestion. Yes, we are indeed considering that, and that is the plan for the partnership night. The only question I think that we need to ask the participants here is that we will have a full day on December 1, because we will have organizational meetings on PNLG in the morning, PNLC, and then we have some intergovernmental sessions as well in the morning. And then we will have this afternoon session. This is also the reason why we don't have like a big plenary with lots of panelists, and we just we have a select few speakers in the afternoon, and then we have the partnership night at night, and then the following day we will have the ministerial forum. So just we are trying to see the balance in terms of people's energies and our actions. So, but definitely that is in our cards, that we will have a PEMSEA partners and friends collaborators night, where we have activities to informally socialize with each other, and also some formal activities like the launch of the PEMSEA story, which is a book that we are preparing for 28 years, under the, of our partnership, the story of our partnership, and some awarding ceremonies perhaps, so there are some activities that we have. But I'll stop there, and we will be consulting with many of you also in the run-up to the event itself. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, for making a statement, and very willing to have such a kind of event. And if the floor having some strong preference or some suggestion on that, maybe you can contact to the PRF afterward, or if in short, you can have the floor now. But okay. We hold the decision, but we will be expecting for the good coordination for that. Thank you. If not, no objection, I just admit the report from the Cambodia side and the additional presentation from the PRF for the update of the Congress, update of the preparation for the Congress. Thank you very much again for Mr. Long and Excellency Munath and Karen for presenting it. Okay, shall we move to the second agenda today? Is the agenda item 6.0. The 7th Ministerial Declaration on the EAS partnership. So again, I would like to ask Mr. Long Lisrek for provide update regarding the MOE Cambodia's preparation for the 7th EAS Ministerial Declaration. Mr. Long?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Floor is yours.
Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to present it. In this case, what is the, I have the, again, what is my head of delegation, what is the Dr. Van Malinit is going to present and report to this meeting on the progress of what we have been done. We have the PEMSEA facilitation. So please, what is here, Dr. Van? If with your permission, I can wait the floor to him. Thank you.
Dr. Moneas, please take the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kita, sorry,
Kita.
Kita.
Thank you.
Kita. Okay. I would like also to update on the 7 ministerial forum preparations and 7 ministerial forum declaration. I would like to highlight a few points, what we have been done and what we have we're going to be doing within the item number 6. As a chair of the 7 EAS Ministerial Forum scheduled on December 2, our Ministry of Environment, especially our ministers, Saisam Al, is personally taking the lead on the Cambodia preparation. In particular, as a part of EAS Congress working group committees, dedicated the subcommittee has been identified in the Ministerial Environment to coordinate the organization of the Ministerial Forum together with the PRF. Recognizing the different country progresses to secure senior level representation at the Ministerial Forum, our Ministry of Environment is set to release his invitation to our counterpart PEMSEA ministers this coming perhaps in next month, August. In line with this, we ask for strong support from our country partners present here today to help secure the participation of our respective ministers and senior government officials to important events. The other point, the impact brought upon by the pandemic, including coastal and ocean-based sectors and livelihoods, call for a strong regional partnership and action. It is clear that to build back better, we need to work transformative solutions. Thus, the EAS Congress and Ministerial Forum, even in December, as the premier platform for stakeholders engaging of the EAS regional become even more important. The other point, through the 7 ministerial forum, we hope to adapt as of one region and a new declaration that would pursue our roadmap to 2030 that is anchored on our SDS-SEA vision and commitment to the sustainable development and the blue economy. The Ministry of Environment of Cambodia fully supports this declaration, and we would like to thank the PRF for rolling out the review and consultations on this important declaration. Today, we shall be reviewing the initial inputs on the first draft, and we call upon both our country and non-country partners for your insight and inputs to ensure that we come up with the strong and meaningful declaration. Once again, on behalf of the environment, especially Your Excellency Minister Saisam Al, we are looking forward to your strongly support to successful organization and conduct of EAS Congress and the 7 ministerial forum. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Monath, for the detailed explanation and the strong message and will for the declaration. And we're really expecting for that. And now I'd like to call the Ms. Amy Gonzalez, the Executive Director of the PRF, to deliver the presentation on further updates on the 7th Ministerial Forum declaration preparations. Amy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm just going to give you some updates on the 7th Ministerial Forum preparation. So the country partners have received the first draft of the Ministerial Declaration, and we had a first round of country consultation with bilateral discussions on the draft from June 25 to July 23. We had also received initial inputs from the EC members and 8 country partners. You recognize your names there. We also drafted a program for the Ministerial Forum and related events, which has been shared with the Cambodia as host and the country partners, and I believe also with the Executive Committee members in terms of like the senior government officials meeting, the conduct of the Ministerial Forum proper, and a post-Ministerial Forum press conference. We have also worked with Cambodia for the invitations to ministers. So I think the target release is sometime in August, as mentioned by Dr. Van Manimit, and it is undergoing review at the cabinet level of Minister Sai Saman. Okay, and then we also had developed some working committee from the PRF side in terms of the preparation for the Ministerial Forum itself, not just on the declaration. And MOE in the Cambodian side has also identified and will activate this in early August. So it's just some of the processes related to the preparation of the Ministerial Declaration. Now, for the purpose of informing also our non-country partners in the spirit of transparency, the first draft of Ministerial Declaration contains key elements. The working theme title is Charting a Blue Development Agenda, Healthy Ocean Ecosystems and Shared Prosperity. We will see later on that there are some comments or suggestions on this title. The salient points of the Ministerial Declaration are about our regional accomplishments in line with our shared regional strategy implementation, the recognition of the persistent and emerging challenges in the region, particularly the global pandemic on the ocean-based and its impact on ocean-based sectors and communities, and then also the endorsement of the PEMSEA Roadmap 2030, which is under development now, anchored on our shared common vision and previous Ministerial Declaration commitments and support of PEMSEA countries' economic recovery programs and plans that puts blue economy at the center as its core, as well as alignment with key international commitments, UN SDGs in the run up to 2030, of course. We have heard yesterday from Nancy that there's been some delays in the fulfillment of this contribution, but we are pleased to note that East Asia and Southeast Asian countries are actually one of those who are progressing quite well in the pursuit of this commitment in UN SDGs. Of course, 2020 to 2030 is the UN Decade of Ocean Science, and there are some work programs being planned there as well that we need to consider in our own work if we are to remain science and rigorous-based regional organization. The post-2020 biodiversity framework, which is currently under negotiations, and the UN Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, Paris Agreement, etc., etc. The structure of the Ministerial Declaration contains some preambular paragraphs, the PEMSEA Roadmap to 2030, a treatment of that, the roles and tasks not only of the PEMSEA Resource Facility, but also country partners, non-country partners. There's a touch on the sustainability of the Secretariat as well as the partnership, and then some concluding paragraphs. Next slide, please. So overall suggestions from the preliminary consultations we've had, the feedback has been positive on the key points and the flow. There is also a note that the declaration should clearly establish a clear rationale that would capture PEMSEA's history, current and future status and situation of the region, causes and effects of key regional issues. I think this pertains to threats and drivers, and the valuable role and comparative advantage of PEMSEA. Also, key recommendations on the way forward, which include support to the partnership as a leading example of a regional and even global partnership mechanism, as this is being tried in other large marine ecosystems. And we are one of the few that have succeeded from transforming ourselves from a marine pollution project towards a fully evolved regional governance mechanism. Of course, there's continued commitment on mainstreaming, integrating and promoting integrated coastal management as a base for promoting blue economy and other sectoral plans. There's also recognition on the active role of our partners, non-country partners, PNLG, PNLC, private sector possibly, media, local communities, and alignment to the key international agreements. Now, the ultimate aim for PEMSEA's country partners with NCP inputs is to agree on a declaration as a long-term political commitment that is brief and then also clear, concise in the use of terminologies with clear expected outcomes, indicators, targeted actions, whether program-based or really hard targets, and timelines. Now, more specific suggestions and inputs on the draft will be discussed in detail after this presentation. So those were the just on the proposed process and timeline for review and finalization. So first round of consultation within this month of July, presentation at this meeting today. We will have second round of consultation in August after receiving your feedback and comments in this meeting. And then, so that will be the version 2 of the Ministerial Declaration. We will have a third round of consultation. Both rounds, August and September, will be open to the non-country partners. And then the review and discussion at that expanded EC October, hopefully we will have more or less a final draft. And then so that by November, we would have the final review and endorsement by the senior government officials meeting, because we're not sure on how much time you would need ministers' clearance. So we would like to have October as hopefully a final draft with some finishing touches only at the SGOM level in November, so that you can begin your own internal process of clearing it with whoever needs to be cleared and to get the ministerial approval. And then the signing of the declaration during the 7th Ministerial Forum. Okay, next slide, please. So on the review process, we will have received a matrix containing the proposed revisions or suggestions from select country partners. And this will serve as reference for today's discussions and review. We will be conducting this paragraph per paragraph and will be chaired by Dr. Kita to facilitate clarification and also suggestions for inputs, and if possible to arrive at a preferred formulation of statements. But we will see how far we go. Noting also that this will still serve as a guide for further refinement of the draft for the second round of consultations. I hope all of you got a copy of this first draft of the Ministerial Declaration. And we also, in our preparatory documents, we actually also prepared an introduction to the Ministerial Declaration, which clarified some of the concepts that were used, particularly on the blue economy, which, just a reminder to the country partners that we have agreed on our own definition of blue economy during the Changwon Declaration, in the Changwon Declaration rather, I think it was the 4th or 5th Partnership Council or EAS Congress meeting. Okay, and prior to going to this review process, I would just like to remind also, next slide please, that we are requesting some actions from the PC members. So apart from the line by line, para per para discussion, we would like your endorsement in terms of the proposed process and schedule for the finalization of the 7th Ministerial Declaration, and then also to direct PEMSEA Resource Facility with the help of our chair to refine the draft declaration based on country inputs and suggestions from this, and then to proceed with the second round of country consultations with country and non-country partners, which will be conducted virtually. And then the request PRF in collaboration with MOU Cambodia to provide regular updates and guidance to PC members on the ministerial forum preparations. We would also like to make a special request to Cambodia to facilitate early release of invitations to ministers so that we could facilitate early conservation and saving up of the dates, because we would really want to have highest level representation during our virtual ministerial forum. We would also like to request country partners, if the focal point to PEMSEA is not the contact person for the ministerial forum preparation and media coordination, to provide the names of those key contact persons. And lastly, we would like to request country partners also to secure early confirmation of ministers and country delegation, and if there are any information that we would need to know ahead of time to be able to mitigate risk and also to find a way to come up with mutually acceptable solutions. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, for the detailed explanation about the process and some targets. The explained matter is written in the document under the PC/13/doc under 9 and 10, and also the associated tables is circulated in the partners. So we will revisit this action requested in the very final stage of our discussion. Now we turn into the detailed discussion for the declaration itself. Before opening up the detailed discussion, I'd like to re-emphasize the 3 points. This initial presentation of the declaration is based on the first round consultation has been conducted mainly with the country partners. In the process, the PRF was able to secure the initial input from the various countries, including some initial input from the members of the EC. And second point is input gathered were compiled in the matrix. And under this typical 13th PC review and discussion processes, we would like to opening up the discussion on the draft declaration with non-country partners, as well as to secure the insight of the input. The matrix captured both direct revision of the text as well as the general suggestion from the countries. And as a part of due diligence of in documenting the result of the discussion, consultations, as well as for transparency. So again, with saying this, we are starting the discussion on the table of the Ministerial Forum Declaration. Since this is the first time for bringing this table for the partners as a whole to facilitate the discussion, I would like to review paragraph by paragraph manner with my personal proposal to how to combine it. Believe that this is not the final decision, and I'd like to not taking the consensus at this time, but this is a base. This can be a base document for starting up the second round of the consultation for the country partners, as well the some input, expected input from the non-country partners. So, shall we begin the discussion? So firstly, we would like to start with the title of the declaration. Singapore making the suggestions on that. Since the blue development or name of the blue is a little bit ambiguous, so the let's using the very widespread terminology that the sustainable development instead. So here is my proposal, Kate. Could you please paste that in the blank area? Yeah. Now she's working. Thank you. Yes. So I'd like to suggest for the session to consideration about the new title, the Ministerial Declaration, reviewing our Sustainable Development Agenda, Healthy Oceans, People, and Economies. Do you have any additional comment on this from Singapore first? Maybe you are the person who wish to make the change. Or any other thought from the other countries, non-country partners, please. Okay, so shall we go next? So from now on, we try to alter all the rural development words toward to the sustainable development. Okay, so shall we go next? The first paragraph, that is a part of the preamble for the declarations. We have
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman, I just would like to go into the title.
Yes.
We are also now consideration with the name of the ministerial declaration. So
Sure.
we are now in the process to discuss.
Okay.
Not my level to decide it, the Plasia or Phnom Penh ministerial declaration or whatever. So this is to make a note that the Cambodia will propose a name. Sihanouk will or Phnom Penh that up to our high level, up to the minister decision on that title. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, you always having your liberty to change and decide and discuss the more suitable title of the declaration, of course. And this again, I would like to emphasize on this is just a basement for discussion for the second round. So, and this part is very, very important for the declaration because this is the face of the declaration. So, in my liberty, would you please, Kate, would you please put this learning title within the square bracket at the moment? So it is clearly stated that Cambodia within the internal processes, their consideration for the new suggestions. Is it agreeable for Cambodia?
Yeah, it's okay. Just a title of the place, the name of the event. So
sure.
As previously we already done with the different hosting country to already putting into the title of a city or title of country like that,
Sure.
But for the I think for the meaning of our title is it might I have no doubt or no comment on that. Just only the place of the title. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your additional comment. It is well noted. Okay, so we move on to the first paragraph. So we have an input from Cambodia and this, as well as Singapore. And my proposal is taking the two respective countries' suggestions as like this. Now, paste it. Yes, we put the scale up good practices word within the original text, and also we capture the sustainable development agenda as a text. Do you have any additional comment or thought? Maybe this is very straightforward, so that I just keep going and speeding up the review of the paragraphs. So don't hesitate and don't be afraid to coming back to the previous one. Okay, shall we go to the paragraph 2, please? Okay. Now we have a input from Cambodia and Philippines to alter the some words for the second paragraph of the declaration. And my proposal is taking the thought and taking a concise sentences here. So we recognize that the outbreak of COVID-19 and it continue on to the last line. And we just putting the even in the fisheries. So we have to be careful on the listing up the some items. So not too much restriction with that. So if we put this kind of word that will capture the idea of what we wanted to say. Okay, this is the easier one, I think. If not, if no objection, let's try to move toward to the paragraph 3. Okay, there are 3 input for this paragraph: Cambodia, Philippines, and Singapore making a comment, their comment. And my proposal is like this, and taking the 3 suggestions, and I put the square bracket in the very end of the line while pursuing the equitable economic growth, addressing health and other socio-economic concerns. And I think the previous sentences will capture the wider range of the things, and the more detailed description will come out in later paragraphs. So I just suggest to deletion of the last sentence after the while. So that's the meaning of why we put this. I put the square bracket here. If no objection, at the moment I just cut out for the discussion for the next round. And excuse me, would you please come back to the paragraph 3, because this is closely related to the Cambodia expectation. Just wanted to make the short confirmation. Cambodia, do you agree with this editing? If no strong objection, let's do that at the moment. Okay, so Kate, would you please come to the 4, 5, 6 paragraphs? And this is a suggestion, editing suggestion from Cambodia. And I see that it's very quite straightforward, and I can be brave for asking the floor for checking 4, 5, and 6 in the same time. Would you please paste all the suggestions for the 4, 5, and 6? Thank you. All the highlighted text is incorporated with the suggestion from Cambodia. Do we have any additional comment? No. Okay, thank you. So shall we move on to the seventh paragraph? Here, I'd like to take a little bit time for the discussion here, since the Cambodia, Singapore, and Indonesia bring out some point for this typical paragraph. And the main part is pointed out that the no net zero carbon development strategy is a little bit early to cooperate within the Ministerial Declaration at this time. So the eliminate that, and instead of that, we put a little bit more precise sentence for Paris Agreement. But this is my personal suggestion or personal observation here. The Singapore like to put the long-term temperature goal as indicated as a blue, but in the if we look through to the Paris Agreement, actually long-term temperature goal is one of the targeted, but many other target is captured under the name of the global goal. So the if possible, I propose to use global goal terminology instead of the long temperature goal here. That is the reason why we have a square bracket was listed in side by side here. So Singapore, if you have any thought or additional comment on that, please state. Or any other countries, non-countries partners, do you have any preference for that? Sometimes it is very difficult to see your reaction without seeing the
Hi, Chair, may I speak?
Okay, yes, please.
Regarding the proposed text of global goal, we will need to check with our colleagues. We will probably get back intersessionally.
Okay, then we just leave as it is. So the two square bracket in side by side. Maybe within this session or even in the second round, we can consider take the consideration on this. Okay, thank you. So shall we move to the paragraph 8?
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
believe
please.
Japan had the hand raised.
Oh, excuse me, I miss out that. Japan, you can have.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Gonzalez. Japan prefers global goal. In short, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well noted. Okay, so shall we move to the next paragraph? Okay, so the one editing proposal from Cambodia here, and I think it is quite straightforward and put into the revision proposal here. We took note of the PEMSEA's achievement and hereby declare things. And as the importance of the blue economy, we capitalize the text in the first character of the blue economy as our new niche in the PEMSEA. Okay, thank you for that. Now we have a paragraph 9. The preamble is ongoing, and comment from Cambodia, Singapore, and Indonesia and Philippines comes out. The suggestion from Cambodia and Singapore is well taken, and the suggestion from the Indonesia and the Philippines is not in line, but I try to capture the idea to put the partnership under ICM. That makes a kind of the emphasis on the partnership. What kind of partnership the PEMSEA is targeted on. And one thing for clarification, the Singapore suggesting the word using the progress instead of the commitment. So this is one of the things we have to thinking about. And the reason why is the commitment expressing the way of the contribution. and progress means or declare that the status of the contribution. So the which intention you have is a reflection for this typical paragraph. So if you have any additional suggestion, I'd like to keep these two words side by side again. Singapore, do you have any additional comment on this? Do you have strong preference on the using the progress instead of the commitment? No reaction or muted? Okay, if no strong objection from the other country partners, non-country partners, I just leave it as it is and try to see the second round or the consultation for the non-country partners. Okay, so number 10. Okay, so number 10, we have a suggestion from Cambodia, Singapore, and Indonesia, and Philippines again. And I took all of them into the one paragraph to capture the new list of the mentioned declaration under the UNEA for and some additional sentences along with the Philippines input. Since this is a new addition from my side, my personal suggestion, so that both of them is within the square bracket. So Indonesia, do you have any additional comment or strong preference for doing the editing? Philippines? Not at the moment. Okay, shall we move on to the 11th paragraph? So 11th paragraph, we have a input from Cambodia and very quite straightforward, and I believe the it can be associated as the proposal, but just make sure that the alternation of the word inclusive instead of the concerted. So the I'm not the English speaker, so we should ask to the partners who have a strong experience on it. But the inclusive is it is a kind of vision, including the vision of the no one left behind, and concerted is a kind of the more strongly emphasize on the way of the collaboration, so that everyone go together. The sentence itself, the idea itself is the same, but inclusive is widely used in the global basis documentation at the moment, very fashionable terminology, if I like. So Cambodia, do you have any strong suggestion to alter the inclusive to the concerted? Or any other suggestion from the floor? Okay, then we will leave and for the second round consideration. So this is the final paragraph for the preamble. And here we have a little bit discussion here because the basically I would like to support to make the declaration in concise as many as possible, as less as possible. So, but there is a way to listing up the things, and this final paragraph is dedicated to the thanks for the partners, and one option is listing up their contribution, and the option B is acknowledge their attitude. So so there are two ways to making express the thanks for the some partners and collaborators. If we take the listing up, as I said before, we have to be careful that they're not missing something important. So that at the moment, I prefer the option B as to saying their attitude as a whole. If you have no strong objection, Kate, would you please put the number A under the square bracket so that is a candidate for the alternation. We have a little bit preparation on the option B.
Noted, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Thank you. So now we are getting into the PEMSEA Roadmap to 2030 part. The first paragraph of 13, the alternation of the blue development to the sustainable development, it was taken. Okay, so within the yes, the next paragraph 14, the Cambodia and the Singapore making the specific alternation of the words. I think this is also the quite straightforward. Okay, shall we getting into the inside of the roadmap? The 14.1, we have some discussion here from Singapore and Indonesia. As mentioned in earlier part, that Indonesia is emphasis on that not only the nature-based solutions, but the ecosystem-based solutions should be taken. So I also agree on that and try to concise as possible. And this is my proposal about the sustainable recovery action to build back the economy through and nature-based solutions or ecosystem-based approach that increased coastal investment, and for supporting or that support health ocean, healthy coasts and oceans. So, do you have any strong reference or suggestion on this? No. Okay. So let's go next. The 14.2. From here, we have a very long paragraph, sub-paragraph here, so that I can be brave to suggest to cut short to capture the list, the continue to adopt ICM to strengthen coastal resilience and support healthy ocean ecosystems. We're already talking about the healthy ocean ecosystem in previous paragraphs, so we do not duplicate in detail and try to capture as a whole to making the more big umbrella for the declaration. Do you have any thoughts on that? Okay, let's try to move on. Now we have a 3 input for the subparagraph 14.3, the some editing and inclusion of the new aspect onto that paragraph. So I captured all of them into the sentence like this. About the pollution, we try to capture as the pollution affecting our coast and ocean. And also we are thinking that the wastewater and nutrient debris, marine debris are little bit different things, so that it was to listing up one by one basis. So I took the Indonesian suggestion as it is. Do you have any thought? Okay, so going to the 14.4. Okay. Here we are talking about the inclusion of the economic benefit. So basically I put the consolidated sentence like this, but I'd like to ask the floor if we needed the benefit to the PEMSEA country partners, the term of the country here. The benefit is not, of course, the country is harnessing all the partners within the country partners. Also, the non-country partners is living in the country. But for the essence or target of the declaration to make the willingness as a whole for the region, I'd like to delete the term of the country here. Just say that the country partners, the benefit to country partners. And the suggestion from Lao PDR is captured like the use of the healthy marine and healthy marine and water resources. Of course, we can list up all of them, but the healthy marine and water resources capture a very wide meaning. So I hope the Lao PDR's suggestion can be captured like this under this sentence. Lao PDR, do you have any thought?
Thank you, Chair. And on behalf of DDG Kincom.
Yep.
Yes. For this moment, I think this is okay right now. And if we have further comments, then we will come back. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that comment. Thank you for your understanding. And of course, again, I emphasize this is not the final decision, not the consensus. So we leave our liberty to making the additional comment and alternation afterward. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so shall we go to the next paragraph? Actually, this is not the paragraph, but from China and Vietnam making the some kind of overall suggestion to addition of the their concept into this typical paragraphs. So from China, we have two additional suggestions, and from Vietnam, they also making inclusion of the idea of the marine capital. So my suggestion is like this. So firstly, the second point from arising from the China is taking at here as a new sub paragraph. The almost the same sentences come down around here. That improve the level of coastal governance, strengths the capital capacity building of coastal managers, and allow scientific method and measures to be widely applied to the decision-making processes. So the science-based decision-making is arising here. It is very important, and I think it was to capture in the sub paragraph. But again, this is the first time to see the sentence. So Kate, would you please put it in the square bracket at the moment for indication? This is quite new for the floor. Thank you.
With the chair.
Yep. Okay, and then it is a little bit difficult, but within the sub-paragraph, original sub-paragraph of the 14.5, I made this suggestion to capture the first point arising from the China and the 1 point marine capital point from the Vietnam's. We're taking within the sub-paragraph here, because this is a very suitable to fit in the idea onto that. Little bit the expression was changed, but this new subparagraph can be read as adopt innovative financing mechanisms to finance sustainable management activities on coastal and river basin fisheries, aquaculture, tourism, and marine capital focused projects that benefit both ocean economies and environment. I'd like to capture the first point rising from the China, but it rephrased a little bit different way, but the idea is trying to capture the your thought within the paragraph. So, do we have any comment or suggestion from firstly? Can I call for China for checking this kind of proposal is acceptable for you at the moment?
Yes, Chairman, is acceptable for now.
Sure. Thank
Okay.
you. Vietnam, do you like to put the another part for marine capital, or is it good enough at the moment for capture like this?
Yes, eventually I have no comment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, I just taking time to making the note. Thank you for bearing us for taking time. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we can proceed to 15.
Okay, thank you. Then we are coming to the 15th. We have three mainly editorial suggestion from Cambodia, Indonesia, and Singapore here. And my suggestion is just taking the all of them. Hence, with the member countries commit to coordinate with the PEMSEA resource facility in the development of the following portion in the agenda of the PEMSEA Roadmap 2030. Okay, so that we getting into the actual instruction for the proceeding of the roadmap. Okay, so shall we move to the 15.1? Okay, thank you. So 15.1 is describing the how the we formulate, adopt, and implement a mutually supportive SDS-SEA implementation plan. And the Singapore suggests the more concise presentation for this sub-paragraph. And I would like to taking that part. But again, we are thinking that ICM is repeatedly noted that the nature of the PEMSEA and a very, very strong point for the PEMSEA. And in the same time that these days the blue economy is also coming to the rising as our niche too. So it is beneficial for holding the blue economy more explicitly in the declaration. So I just making the proposal for keeping that sentence for referring to the blue economy is staying there along with Singapore's suggestion. So the now stay in the square bracket, but this is not mentioning that we wanted to delete this part, but my intention is please asking to the floor partners to thinking keep the sentence for the blue economy here. So any other thought? Singapore, do you have any at this moment?
Hi, Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
Oh, I think Singapore thinks that sustainable development would sufficiently capture the point of blue economy.
Sure. Thank you for your comment. It is noted. And then still we are keeping this under the square bracket. So that in the second round, you can also taking the suggestion, putting your suggestion to delete it or not. And Singapore is clearly stated that sustainable development is very, very big umbrella, and that is good enough for capturing the idea. Okay, well noted. Thank you. And 50.2, the sub-paragraph. The China, Singapore, and Philippines making the suggestion on this, and especially the Philippines try to put the additional text because it is closely related to if the countries, PEMSEA countries, have the national climate change programs, action plans in place or not. If the situation is like that, it means that the countries, PEMSEA countries, already have the plans in place. It is well worth to having that sentence in head of the this sub paragraph, but still I'm not sure that all the countries' situation. So I propose to put it under the square bracket. under the consideration for the partners countries. But it was to raise from the Philippines, so that I'd like to express like this. Philippines, do you want to have any other thought or additional explanation on this?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
for now, I think on behalf of the field, we have here also from the PMPDNR. But for now, I think we can settle for that, the chair's proposal.
Okay. Thank you for your understanding.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Singapore has raised their hand, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Singapore, take your floor.
Thank you, Chair. We think we should not include such strong references to climate change because PEMSEA is not a climate change platform. Instead, we would prefer to revert back to our proposed lines that focuses on protection of the oceans and the impact of climate change on oceans rather than to focus on national climate change action plans, measures and strategies. Thank you.
Right. Thanks for raising the important point that, yes, of course, the PEMSEA as a regional institution, we strongly having the initiative to promote the climate change matter also, not only for that, of course, but as the Singapore mentioned that of course each individual institution having their own some kind of the vision or the area of the commitment. So again, my intention is there is some countries or some partners considered as still it is important, but of course it can be not included as a sub paragraph for here. So my suggestion at the point, just leaving here, but we well noted that the point raised from Singapore, and I think that if the Philippines thinking again and making some decision or alternate suggestion for the Secretariat within the second round consultation, you have liberty to delete this line or rephrase it to making a more clear obligation for the PEMSEA. Is it okay for you? No strong objection. So I'd like to come to the next point. Thank you. 15.3 subparagraph. The Singapore again making a good suggestion for making the paragraph more concise, and I think it was to capture the idea. And again, I just put the square bracket and staying the same sentence from the original text, but this is a kind of intention that if we can delete this part along with the Singapore's suggestion. Do you have any other additional comment on this? Maybe the declaration from the Ministerial Forum should be concise as less as possible, and it makes more stronger power to moving the people forward. So try to think we have to making the shorter paragraph or more concise expression for all as a whole. Okay, thank you. Going to the next one, 15.4. There is a suggestion from China and Singapore. From Singapore, that just a editorial suggestion, and from China, I think this is a very important suggestion that the inclusion of the terminology of especially the living standard of low-income groups affected by the pandemic. And my proposal is capture that idea with a very, very concise words, the inclusive foundational mechanisms. The inclusive is a very useful word that to capture the, of course, no one left behind, that include the low-income groups affected by the pandemic, the synthesis onto the low-income groups. So if the China agree with that, I'd like to put a very short word insertion or into the typical subparagraph. China, do you have any another thought?
Chairman, yeah, I agree. Inclusive is a very useful word, but I still need to discuss with my colleagues, especially the experts from our team. Can you just put it in the square?
Right.
Okay.
So thank you for your comment, and of course I understood that China or other countries or non-country partners having their thoughts, so that I just leave this part within the square bracket. Okay, thank you. So 15.5. So this is very straightforward suggestion, and again from the China, we have a suggestion, and since this is a part of the listing up of the instructions for the PRF, and I think the suggestion from China at the moment is was to listing up in separate manner, and again I asking to the Kate to put the number 6, yes, under the square bracket, because this is the first time to see for all. So do you agree, or do you have any disagree for this attribution? No, at the moment. So please consider if it was to include into our declaration or not in the second round consultation and the consultation for the non-country partners. Okay, thank you. So we leave another 2 lists for the instruction for the PRF, and there's no suggestion, so just changing the number. In the case of the 6th point comes into the paragraph, yes, that is better. The number should be changed, but the inside of the paragraph should not be changed. So as a basement of the discussion and the second round discussion, I always emphasize on this. This is not final decision, but it was to go through the declaration one by one basis with all of your eyes. Okay, so shall we move to the final part, very final part of the declaration. There are the two paragraphs left. The one is a PRF sustainability, and there is no, excuse me, yeah, there is a suggestion from Cambodia. But the as a our along to the our experience or in line with the previous EAS Ministerial Declaration, we are using this paragraph heading, the PEMSEA Resource Facility Sustainability. This is one of the things we really wanted to highlight. So if the Cambodia agree with that, at the moment, this moment decision, I would like to propose to remain the same sentences and the same subtitle of the paragraph. Cambodia, do you have any point for this suggestion? Of course, without a square bracket, you have a liberty to thinking again under the next round.
Yes. Mr. Chair, yeah,
yes,
I think that we can take a note of this. We can go, our team, our Cambodia team, we go back and to discuss again on what your proposal on as a chair of this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, well noted, and thank you for that point, Alice. Any other thought? No? Then we come to the very end of the declaration, that section titled conclusion. And there's two input for this. The suggestion from Cambodia saying that the conclusion is, it is a little bit something interest or for the declaration title. And Singapore makes very specific editing proposal for this sentence. My suggestion is taking the kind of the acting title for this. This is just an example. Instead of using the conclusion, very structured word, but if we have the title like a requested action for the PEMSEA partners, this is something like a message from the declaration to the partners. And I took the suggestion from Singapore to editing the paragraph. Cambodia, do you wanted to make a note on the, so you have the consideration as same as the previous paragraph?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Actually, we yes, would like to remove because of the mostly declaration has mainly focused on the two sections. One is on the recognition or acknowledgement or existing efforts, and section 2 maybe most concerned with commitment of the state moving forward. That the reason why we think that the conclusion not much needs to put into the declaration. So, but we can take note and further discussion on this.
Okay, thank you for your kind consideration and comments. Okay, we come to the end of the paragraph of our declaration. So, do we have any another overall comment or some specific comment even? I'd like to take that bit time if you like, especially the countries not yet having the voice or the non-country partners, this is your first chance to making the comment within the session. So if you have some words, maybe we don't hear from the Alo Korea yet. Do you have any? Suggestion or observation? Good enough for the second round? Or Timor-Leste? Do you have any?
Think Timor-Leste is now open for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it is good to hear your voices because I cannot see your in face, so it is very difficult to me to understand that what kind of atmosphere we have in the floor. You know, for the non-country partners, I don't want it to miss your voice, so the maybe alphabetical order, I just call you, and if you have any comment or note or just saying hello for the floor. SCB, ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, first.
Yeah, hello from the ACP. I'm just appreciating all the discussions for the finalization or revisions on this declaration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So the next is EMEX, the International Environmental Management of Enclosed Coastal Sea Center from Japan, maybe. Do you have any?
Hello, Dr. Furukawa. Thank you for asking us to make our comments. We were actually very surprised to see all the process of making this declaration for the preparation. It is, how can I say, too much complicated, and we really appreciate your great leadership of Dr. Furukawa to manage this conversation. So thank you very much again, and we are expecting the great result of the completing the seventh ministerial declaration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, EMEX, for the supporting comment. So the next is from Korea Marine Environment Management Corporation. Please. Muted or not here. Okay, just try to go around. So the next will be the NAOPAP, Northwest Pacific Action Plan. Mr. Liu? No? So we just go around, and please don't be hesitate to interrupt. So the OPRI SPF. Do you have any comments at the moment? Kobayashi-san? Watanabe-san? No? Okay, Oil Spill Response Limited, OSRL.
Morning, Dr. Kita. This is
Morning.
James.
Good.
No comments from OSRL. Sure. I think it has been a good experience sitting through the process. Really good work. I can see it's difficult. It's not an easy position to be in, but yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your understanding. So the PNLD, Dr. Quinha, if you like?
Mr. Jaime, I believe Ipika just raised their hand. They're also in the room.
Oh, excuse me.
Good
Ipika,
morning,
please.
Chair.
Good morning. Excuse
Good
me.
morning, all delegates. Just like to express my sincere appreciation to the Council for including the non-country partners in the declaration. I think this really recognizes the collaboration and effort that we have put in to work with PEMSEA and all the country partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your understanding and the willing to have your more interaction with us. Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So PNLC? No. If I miss someone, please raise your hand or turn on the microphone and call me. This so okay. I believe that we go through the declaration very precisely, and Pakalif, you are raising your hand. Mr. Yuana, our chair, please take the floor if you like. Still, you are muted. I see you are raising your hand. No?
Maybe Secretariat. Yeah.
There. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. I would like to have a general comment on the draft ministerial declaration. First, the draft ministerial declaration is too long, I think, but not ambitious. Of course, we are still on the process of drafting it. Hopefully, at the end of the day, after getting feedbacks and from country and non-country partner, then it is refined and compressed by PRF. We will have the ministerial declaration as a political commitment, not a technical commitment. That is clear, concise, comprehensive, and sending the signal, strong signal, with the clarity of expected outcome, indicator, targeted action, and timelines. Although the declaration should have flexibility, as you mentioned also, liberty, in order and each country partner to be able to integrate in it with national interests or circumstances. Number two, therefore, basically the MV consists of two main elements as follow. First one is rationality or preambular paragraph, consisting of the brief history of PEMSEA, the current and future situation like COVID-19, climate change, biodiversity, coastal and marine pollution, including microplastic, then causes and effects, the implication of threat, and this is very important, I believe, the competency of PEMSEA in terms of its knowledge and experience as well as technical know-how. On the recommendation, this is B, so two main element is first preambular paragraph, and the second one is operational paragraph, meaning that how to do it. The first one is the intention. We remind everybody that we still have intention, PEMSEA intention, transformation from a marine pollution project to leading regional and global partnership mechanism. And second, on the operational paragraph, to continue mainstreaming and integrating the ICM as an effective tool of the SDS-SEA into the national and local policy, which is elaborated into the implementation plan or action plan, supported by capacity building, technology transfer, financial mechanism, collaboration, and partnership among stakeholders. Third, to appreciate the active partnership of local government through PNLG, university through PNLC, private sector, media, and local communities working together with PEMSEA on the protection of coastal and marine ecosystem that need to be maintained and increased in the future. And the fourth, to promote the ICM literacy through communication, information, and education. That is really important means to change the behavioral attitude of people to view the precious values of a coastal and marine ecosystem and to encourage the people to overcome its problem. Besides, we still need the technology and technical know-how. That is my comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Pak Alif, for your detailed comment and the very important message taken. There is a many important point, and if we could your message in written basis, it is more beneficial for sharing and under the consideration. So that is it possible to supply your statement?
Yes. Email.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it in.
Thank you. Thank you. Then we can have refer that to your comment under the second round consultation for the partnership. So, are there any thought and suggestion from floor? With this, so the review of the draft regulation is completed, and I'd like to request Kate for inform the PC on the immediate next step regarding the review and refinement of the draft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we would like again to express our thanks to the members of the Council as well as the Executive Committee for the suggestions made today, as well as further guidance for the Secretariat in the further refinement and revision of this draft. And as mentioned and as presented by the ED earlier, we will be conducting the second round of consultation on the second draft of this declaration in the entire month of August, and that will be open to both our country and non-country partners. So we hope that these processes will enable all of us in securing the necessary inputs and at the end a consensus from the region on a final version of the declaration. And also on the preparations regarding the ministerial forum in coordination with MOE of Cambodia, we will be providing regular updates on any developments on the preparations. So I believe we can refer back to the actions requested to the meeting now, Mr. Chair. May I request my colleague Karen to please post again the actions requested for these agenda items. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, please, please lies again the action requested from PC members. And first bullet is adopt the proposal process and schedule for the finalization of the 7th Ministerial Declaration. Basically, I believe the floor and session is agreed for that, and we had an adoption on this matter. Then we would like to ask PRF to define the draft declaration based on the country input and the suggestion from this PC meeting and process with the second round country consultation with country and non-country partners. This is asking for the PRF. And another things is a request PRF in collaboration with MOE Cambodia to provide a regular update and guidance to PC members, particularly to country partners on ministerial forum preparations. This is already mentioned by the Kate, but again, for the confirmation, there is two requests for the PRF. And kindly, we would like to request MOE Cambodia to facilitate the early release of the invitations to ministers to facilitate early confirmations. And two requests for the country partners. First, to identify key contact persons for ministerial forum preparation and media coordination. So that we need the key contact name and the contact detail for the PRF. And lastly, to the through the NPF to secure the early confirmation of the ministers and country delegation. So for the preparation of the ministerial forum. So everything is confirmed and endorsed by the this typical technical session, I think. Do you have any another additional comment, last time comment as a session? If not, I think this is be decided as so. With this, I'd like to close our technical session with many appreciation for partners, especially for the government of Cambodia, for the hosting the EAS Congress 2021. Thank you, Secretariat, and Dr. O for leading the session. With this, Mr. Yuona, the Council Chair, I'd like to back the floor to you, and Takalif, the session is yours. Thank you for all your kind consideration and cooperation.
Thank you, Dr. Keita, for your able chairmanship. Thanks to the participant for a good technical session chaired by Dr. O yesterday and Dr. Furukawa this morning. We had a very productive discussion with the Secretariat. Will document and provide with us a summary, conclusion, and proceeding. And I'd like to call Karen to provide the timeline for review and conclusion and proceeding, and any last minute information, maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear council members and guests, this is the schedule for developing and circulating the proceedings of this particular meeting. On July 30, the PRF shall send the draft conclusions, recommendations, and decisions to PC for your review. Then on August 2, we shall be expecting the approval or inputs from PC on the said draft. This is to allow the PRF to send the draft proceedings to the council members on August 5. And then on August 9, we shall be expecting the approval or inputs on the draft proceedings, so that finally on August 11, we may upload the proceedings on our websites and also share the same to the participants. That will be all from my part, Mr. Chair. Thank you. We would also like, Mr. Chair, if I may, we would also like to remind participants to answer the feedback survey to be posted in the chat box.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Karen, for your information. Now we moved on the agenda item, provisional agenda on the 17th meeting. I'll invite Karen to present the agenda.
Mr. Chair, if I may, on the meeting in October, we will circulate the agenda 2 months before the meeting in October.
Okay.
So we don't have to discuss it now because we're still trying to fix all the schedules, and we will send a Google survey on the next date of our expanded EC meeting in October. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. So I proceed to the closing remarks.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, in closing of the council and technical session, I underscore a lot of significant progress in the session, including for the draft of the PEMSEA Roadmap to 2030, chaired by Dr. O. The breakout session are very useful to discuss or dig up the various issues, including overall prioritization, strategy, governance, and management, program, timeline, and also the possibility to the establishment of technical working group in more detail. Thanks to Dr. Nancy Bermas, documenters, rapporteurs, and IT support as well as participants. Then thanks to Dr. Pansuk Sananan, the PNLC president, for presenting the draft PNLC and the PEMSEA Training Development Plan 2021-2025. The meeting to the meeting, and that also will be reviewed in the next PNLC meeting. On the agenda item 5.0, the EAS Congress 2021, chaired by Dr. Kita Urkawa. We thank to Mr. Long Ritirak, Deputy General of the Ministry of Environment, Cambodia, as the host of the EAS Congress 2021, and Ms. Karen Shi for providing the meeting that the last update on the preparation for the EAS Congress 2021, which is so far so good. We hope, of course, with the proper preparations, the EAS Congress 2021 will be successful. On the Ministerial Declaration making process, we have a long discussion on that. Thanks to Mr. Long Ritirak and also Ms. Amy Gonzalez for presenting an update on the 7th Ministerial Declaration. Then the chair requests to adopt the proposed process and schedule of the ministerial as agreed by the meeting today. Lastly, we are in agreement on the professional agenda, but we will discuss it in the next meeting. And again, thank you, Dr. O, Dr. Keita, for your able chairmanship. Thank to ED, Ms. Amy Gonzalez, Dr. Nancy Bermas, Ms. Karensi, Dr. Wansuk Sananan, Mr. Long, and PRF staff for your hard work to make this meeting possible. And thanks to the representative from the country and non-country partners for your continued support and active participation. Finally, I remind you that the country partner to come back at 1 p.m. for the intergovernmental session chaired by Dr. Lu Kafunta. Thank you very much. Back to Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that, we would like to officially end this council session. We would like to proceed with the lunch break. May we ask all council members and country partners to return at 1 p.m. Manila time so we can proceed with the intergovernmental session. Thank you. And have a pleasant day, everyone.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to open the intergovernmental session of our PC meeting. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to the session, and I hope that we shall have a fruitful session. And I would like to invite Ms. Karen C. to present, and we shall review the approval of the agenda of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear country partners and executive committee members, I would like to present before you the provisional agenda of the intergovernmental session for this afternoon. We begin with, again, the approval of the agenda. and then the updates on the impacts of COVID-19 on the PRF's operations and finances. This is in view of the Executive Committee's instruction to monitor and present periodic updates on the impacts of COVID-19 on the operations and finances of the Secretariat. And then we proceed with the proposed membership of the committees on ethics, discipline, and audit as part of implementing the PEMSEA rules of governance and adhering to quality management standards. The Secretariat would like to seek approval on the proposed membership of these committees of the PRF. Then we proceed with other business, if any, before going to the closing of the meeting. That will be all on my part, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. So I would like to invite all the country members to review and have the comments or suggestions on the provisional agenda of the intergovernmental session. Do you have any question or comments? Or if no, I would like to suggest that all of us shall approve the provisional agenda of the intergovernmental session.
Noted, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. And I think that maybe Mrs. C would like to have a photo session after this. So do you think so?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that would be lovely. May I call on June, our IT expert, to convene everyone for a group photo? May I request everyone to please open their video screen, please?
Hey everyone, please open your camera.
Are we ready, June? Are there still others?
Some of the EC members not opening their camera.
Yes, may we request delegates from Cambodia, Indonesia, COEM as a translator for ROK to please open your video screens. Okay, June, on your count, please.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Thanks, June.
Okay, thank you very much. So, continue to the program. We shall go to the next agenda. The updates on the impact of COVID-19 on the PIF's operations and finances. So, for this item, I would like to invite ED Ms. Gonzalez to present the updates on the impacts of COVID-19 on the operations and finances of the PIF. And the content of this already sent to you is a PC/13 docs 10. So now I would like to invite Ms. Gonzalez to present.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon once again, and I hope all of you had a good lunch. If we were together, we would have been eating, in the same table, but unfortunately, we just had to go and grab whatever we can in this 1-hour session. So as Karen mentioned, this document is an internal paper meant to discuss the impacts of COVID-19 on the PEMSEA Resource Facility operations and finances. We were tasked by EC and subsequently by PC through the expanded EC meetings to monitor and provide regular progress reports on measures undertaken to alleviate the impact of COVID-19 on PEMSEA's programs and finances. This is quite critical because we ended the 4 cycles of support from UNDP and JEF, and in our bid to transform also, we have to look for other funding sources to finance our operations and programs. The next slide, please, Karen. So what have been the measures undertaken by PEMSEA Resource Facility? First of all, I would like to talk about ensuring staff safety and well-being. So we have been working from home since March 2020, since last year. But having said that, we have been doing remote work planning. We have virtual meeting routines and protocols. We've been delivering services and outputs electronically online. We've had limited physical access to office premises, but our admin and finance have been going regularly. There is a ban. We have a ban on a self-imposed ban on international travel and also some controlled domestic travel. I think I've only allowed one field travel was it last year or early this year for work purposes. We've also increased office sanitation and hygiene measures, among others, as I think most of your offices are doing as well. We've had some personnel enlistment to vaccination programs, and I think we're almost like 3/4 along the way of having our personnel vaccinated. Some have gone through double dose already, like myself, but others are still on their first dose, while others are waiting for their turn in the priority list. We've also undertaken some measures to prevent contracting and spreading the virus. And knock on wood, if you believe in such a thing, the PEMSEA Resource Facility personnel based in Manila have been quite resilient and have not contracted the virus. But we've had some personnel in our ATSI2 project based in Bali that have survived the global pandemic, the COVID-19 virus as well. We're also conducting regular discussions to review measures to manage the risk of the global pandemic. Now, that is on the staff safety. In terms of discussions, on global pandemic, also adhering to the suggestions of the EC, we have been, and you were part of this, we have looked into the integration of blue economy and the implications of the global pandemic in the country's economic recovery plans, and we have done that through the initiation or the initial meeting of our East Asian Seas Congress, pre-Congress activity during the World Ocean Day on June 8, 2021. We are preparing a short paper, which could be an internal paper, or we could also do this as a discussion paper, perhaps publish as a discussion paper on the implications of the global pandemic in the region, from a regional perspective, probably with some references to countries' programs. Now, in terms of delivering services, key outputs, we have aligned this with the 2018-2022 implementation plan of the SDS-SEA through various initiatives, and Nancy has also alluded to this in the presentation yesterday at the technical session. Next slide, please. So what have been the implications on PRF's operations? Obviously, there's been some reduced pace of work, but not, it's probably it's not a lot, but there has been some reduction, particularly last year when we were still trying to adjust to the pace, and we're hoping that there could be some reprieve on the global pandemic and not be prolonged like what we're having now, that we're almost close to 2 years of the pandemic. Reduced revenue as a reaction also to the slower pace of implementation brought about by travel and mobility restrictions facing country partners, non-country partners, and donors. Found out that almost 30% of budgets in PEMSEA projects are actually on travels for training and capacity building. So we've had to reallocate those budgets. We had an internal audit to look into the qualitative and quantitative impacts of the global pandemic. On the qualitative impacts, this was part of our plan to review our procedures also, apart from our strategies and planning. So we found out that internal control procedures have been fairly updated and is continuously observed by PRF. So we have good tick marks on that. there has been no significant or material deviations on internal controls as of December 31, 2020. Next slide. On quantitative impacts on project deliverables and financial flows, I think Nancy has also reported on this, that our biggest project for the past 6 years, which is the JEF UNDP project on scaling up implementation of the SDS-SEA, was successfully concluded last year. And part of the measures to adjust to the global pandemic was to shift to online platforms and recalibrate plans and reallocate budgets. And it resulted in a 99% budget expenditure and a good audit report, clean audit opinion rendered by an external auditor. Now, in some projects, we receive grants based on approved budget accordingly. So as the project progresses, costs are then reimbursed based on the actual cost incurred. As a result, some of these projects, we didn't incur any excess or income, because this is on a reimbursement basis. But other projects, for example, in the UNDP Jeff Arafura Timor Seas Ecosystem ATSI2 project, we are allowed to incur a management fee on top of project cost based on actual project spending. Now, in 2020, in particular, the slower project budget spending due to the COVID-19 restrictions yielded lower management fee than what was initially projected as revenue. So this is one of the implications of COVID-19, that we need to manage more and do realistic budget programming. And then there are also certain indirect and general expenditures, such as disbursements charged to general fund instead of project fund, because there has been inability to undertake project work. So we cannot charge it to the project because there's been some slowdown in the work. So we had to charge some of this funding to the general fund. So what are the measures to secure sustainability, and particularly to address those issues on the quantitative impacts? So what we've been trying to do is having a periodic review, almost monthly, on implementing activities in new and innovative ways to avoid and minimize losses as well. And then we have made some representations with UNDP to have fixed management costs during the pandemic period, a temporary measures, given that the services that we're rendering as a PEMSEA Resource Facility are really basic services on finance, administrative, and project oversight services, that despite some delays in the project, we will still be rendering anyway. We have yet to receive feedback from that request. I understand that UNDP people that are handling this are on holiday. And then we have also made representations with country partners and discussions with other partners to ensure sustained funding for Secretariat operations. And I've done this through bilateral meetings with many of you. And I think we will continue to be doing so with some other countries as well. Next slide, please. So where are we in terms of a 3-year projection of our funding sources of revenue? Assuming that there won't be any change from countries, the government, from the government side, for example, this is the picture that we have. For 2021, China is giving us half of what they normally give us, and we have discussed this with them. But we are hoping that in the following years they will continue to give to provide support in the same amount that they normally had to give. Japan is consistent. ROK is also consistent. Singapore is consistent, and Indonesia, for the first time, I think we need to acknowledge that Indonesia has been able to hurdle the political and financial obstacles of getting PEMSEA recognized as an international regional mechanism that they are committed to. And for the first time in 2021, we will receive some funding from them. And we just put a projection that hopefully that will continue for the next 2 or even more years. Timor-Leste, this is also part of the commitment that they provide to us. All this money that Timor-Leste commit, unlike the other countries, does not stay with PRF. While we safekeep the money, most of this also will go back to Timor-Leste as part of technical services and capacity building on the activities that they will have to do in the country. But it's quite admirable because it's quite a good amount as well. So hopefully we will see a continuation of this pattern in the next 3-4 years as well. Philippines provides in-kind contribution to the hosting and Cambodia. So that's the picture. You have this, so I don't have to go through this one by one. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are the other expected sources of revenue in terms of multilateral sources? The SDS-SEA, as we've mentioned, will be completed and will be paid out this year. So we don't expect any more money from the SDS-SEA from 2022 onwards. ATSI-2 is ongoing for another 4 years, so we expect some funds there. This year, as a part of our transition bridge funds, we were able to get some funding from the World Bank. We are in discussion with them for some next steps on the project. At the moment, it's holiday in the US, so I think we will resume discussions when they're back in September. We received news that the Integrated River Basin Management Project that we've all been waiting for will be submitted by UNDP to the JEF Secretariat by August this year. And that will not have to go through their approval process because that has been approved. It just had to take care of some comments from the JEF Secretariat. So fingers crossed, by 2022, we will be able to start this 5-year project. Next slide, please. We have this ongoing project with Norway, bilateral project. And we have some funding for this year and next year as well. And the aim is to have this project continue until the end of 2022. It's not a lot of money, but it is also helping us, at least in the Secretariat. GIZ also, ship waste management, will have some funds until 2022. And then one of the big projects that we have that has started, at least on the project preparation stage, is the Blue Solutions project with IMO. And the full project preparation is ongoing. That's the funding that we got in the Secretariat to develop the full project. And we hope that it would start. The approval process will take a year at least. So we're hoping that in 2023 we would get the 5-year project started in 2020. Next slide, please. Apart from bilateral sources, we've had some little money from the private sector, which is helping us also. And then we also have some funding from services rendered, particularly from the Philippine government, also as part of their cash contribution, apart from the hosting. Yeah, so that's it. Next slide, please. So the projects in the pipeline, as mentioned, the IRBM, the ASEAN NMAPs with the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity. The project is still in a conceptual phase and will be submitted to JEF in December. Hopefully, it will be approved to develop a product in 2022. But I don't think this project will start in the next 2-3 years. But that's in the pipeline as well. Blue Solutions project, as I've mentioned this already. Next slide, please. We have a very preliminary project which would involve the region as well on the blue economy through the JEF 8 Replenishment Fund. It is still in the concept proposal development. We are currently in negotiation with an implementing agency partner because we cannot directly apply for JEF projects, it either has to go through an accredited international government agency like UNDP, UNEP, FAO, UNESCAP, UNIDO, and others, and some NGOs as well. So we're in some negotiations with the 2-3 implementing agency partners. And this, as a heads up, we would like to inform countries that in your development of your co-financing and endorsement, or even your country projects, I hope you can consider a regional project also from PEMSEA. We will provide details sometime in September for this. World Bank project, as I mentioned, it's the terms of reference is under discussion, and then the USAID Clean Cities Blue Ocean concept proposal under development for a regional project rather than a country project. Next slide, please. So on the cost-sharing arrangement, just to give you an idea of which countries have been supporting operations through individual cost-sharing arrangements. We thank those countries that have been consistent in providing us support, and we look forward to discussing with the other countries on how we could also partner with them and to come up with some mutually acceptable arrangements. Next slide, please. So just to recap on the actions needed from country partners, on the IRBM project, once the JEF Secretariat approves it, once it comes down, hopefully sometime in December, we would need 3 countries to endorse the project once approved. So we will inform who these 3 countries are, but we are also, if we can have more endorsement, that would be good, but we will need at least 3 countries. And then on the Blue Solutions project, at the moment, we are developing the full project proposal. There will be a meeting sometime October, November for a discussion of this full project proposal. And the idea is around the December 2021 Ministerial Conference, as like a side meeting, we could get the country's endorsement for the full project proposal. Details will be revealed on this, on how the mechanics and which countries we will be approaching for this. This is just heads up, basically. On the Glow Fouling Partnerships project, this is a new project, and I've given a brief on what this is. We would need inputs in developing and also countries' approval of a regional biofouling management guidelines or measures. We are in discussion with the ASEAN Working Group of Maritime Transport and the ASEAN Working Group on the Coastal and Marine Environment, if we could use their platform, their forum, for the development and discussion of this regional biofouling management guidelines. Because PEMSEA's focal points will only be looking at the environment side, apart from Japan and I think RO Korea, who has the mandate of biofouling, but others we will need to be working with the Ministry of Transportation and those involved with maritime affairs. Now on the ASEAN NMAPs, we need country endorsements, and we are looking at Cambodia and Vietnam because we are missing the country endorsements for the concept proposal, for the PIF of this proposal on the effectively managing ecological networks of MPAs in large marine ecosystems in the ASEAN region. Okay, next slide, please. So on the post-pandemic strategy, I think this is one of the questions that many of you always raise. How do we ensure PEMSEA's organizational sustainability? So we have a decadal plan that will be operationalized through the SDS-SEA, which is under development. We have the PEMSEA Sustainability Plan, which is a living document in sustaining PRF operations. And key is fundraising from diverse sources, from grants, from government, bilateral, private sector, foundation, and even exploring investments. But we are not there yet. But just to let you know that we are looking at mixed and diverse sources of funding. We are also exploring membership-based contribution. This is an idea from Pa-Arif Yuwana, that apart from organizational non-country partners or some other collaborators at an agency or organization level, we may be looking at not necessarily high net worth individuals, but PEMSEA friends to look into this. So we are not discounting anything at this point. We are looking at diverse sources. So this is one of the things that we are currently exploring in-house. Of course, we will continue the strategic partnerships and collaborations. And at the moment, we have identified IMO and ASEAN as key partners, apart from all of you as well. Then the next would be to secure high-level representation during the Ministerial Forum in the EAS Congress 2021, because this would send a strong signal to the rest of the world of the high-level commitment to this partnership. The rest of the world, meaning to say funders, potential partners, and to show them and demonstrate the strength and cohesion of the entire partnership. So this is a plea to you, to all of you, that to secure high-level representation during the Ministerial Forum. I think we've discussed with some of you whom we have a fortune to meet at the bilateral level on what are the possibilities to secure ministerial or highest level representation in Congress during the Ministerial Forum. Next slide, please. I think this is my last slide already. Okay. So actions requested from intergovernmental session is in principle to continued commitment to support PRF operations from 2021 onwards. And then also in principle, when we have the Blue Solutions full project proposal, which we will, of course, solicit feedback from you if we could get some endorsement or co-financing as needed. Country partners in principle commit to support proposals for JEF-8 replenishment fund, that you do not forget us in your wish list for projects in the JEF-8 replenishment fund, because we will be looking for co-financing in your BD Star allocation. Also, country partners support PRF in identifying potential projects or donors, potential sources of revenues at the bilateral or regional levels, or even at the national level, if you want our help with some of these fundraising opportunities that we have. We will be asking the PC Chair on behalf of the Partnership Council to write once again to UNDP and JEF, seeking immediate approval of the Integrated River Basin Management Project. And lastly, as a call earlier, support the Congress with highest level representation and agreement on a strong 7th Ministerial Declaration. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, over to you.
Thank you very much, Edie. So now I would like to invite the...
Karen, you don't need to flash this.
Yeah. I would like to invite the intergovernmental session to review and have comments and suggestions on Edie's presentation. So I would like to remind you that the ED have already asked the intergovernmental session to review some actions, 6 actions. The first one is a continued commitment to support PIF operations from 2021 onwards, as agreed in the Iloilo Ministerial Declaration through voluntary contributions. For this one, I would like to tell you that you may already know about the importance of PEMSEA on coordinating the sustainable development of the coast and ocean economy in the East Asia. And recently, the efforts of PEMSEA have been widely appreciated in the world as in the high-level panel for sustainable ocean economy in the blue paper 7. So the role of PEMSEA and PEMSEA has been referred as a good practice for regional contribution to the sustainable development of the ocean economy. And also recently, in my presentation in the UN General Assembly, I already present about the role of PEMSEA in coordinating the regional adaptation to sea level rise through integrated coastal management. Representatives from countries and especially from you appreciate PEMSEA role PEMSEA very much. And I really I believe that in the future PEMSEA also continue to support country in the East Asia to develop a sustainable coast and ocean economies. So I hope that all countries shall continue to support PEMSEA, and maybe later we shall discuss how country partners to contribute to have the financial contribution to sustain PEMSEA. And the second point is country partners endorse the full project proposal on blue solutions for IKI funding and other upcoming proposals with co-financing as needed. And the third point is the country partners in principle commit to support proposals for GAF replenishment fund. And the fourth point is country partners support PIF in identifying potential projects for donors, potential sources of revenues at the bilateral or regional levels. And the fifth point is a PC chair right on behalf of the EAS Partnership Council a letter to UNDP and GAF seeking immediate approval of the UNDP GAF IRBM project document. And the last point, support the EAS Congress 2021 with senior level representation and agreement on a strong 7th Ministerial Declaration. So I would like to ask again the country partners to have suggestions and comments on the whole ED representation and the action requested from intergovernmental session also. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I believe we have a question from Dr. Hang of the Vietnam Administration of Seas and Islands. She would like to ask Amy on the expected support from Vietnam on the ASEAN and MAPS project because she came in just now. Thank you.
In fact, as you can see that until now, Vietnam, the voluntary the contribution from Vietnam had not been approved. So we hope that in the very near future, so we shall have receive the contribution from Vietnam. And for the project, I think that maybe you already reviewed the project documents and know detail about this one. So do you have any more questions?
Dr. Hang, does that answer your queries?
No, I don't think. Can I just clarify? If I may, Mr. Chair? Yeah, okay. So I don't think Ms. Hang was talking about the cost-sharing arrangement, Dr. Ka, Mr. Chair. It's about the UNDP, GEF, ASEAN, and MAPS project on the effective management of large marine ecosystems and marine protected areas. We need an endorsement from MONRE, but through VEA. So I will discuss this bilaterally with Ms. Hang and VASI folks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eddie.
Hello, I am.
So we have more questions or comments?
If none, Mr. Chair, I think we can proceed to the other agenda items.
Okay, so no question or comments. So as a chair, all country partners agree on actions requested for the intergovernmental session, and we have approved this one. And I would like to proceed to the next item. This is a 10.0 item. The membership of the Committee on Ethics, Discipline and Audit. And I would like to invite Mrs. C to present the proposed membership composition of the PIF committees on ethics, discipline, and audit, respectively. So,
thank you, Mr. Chair.
yes.
I believe background has already been given a while ago, so I can proceed to the specific explanation on the proposed membership of these PRF committees. Going first on the Ethics Committee. So as you may be aware, based on the PEMSEA Rules of Governance, the Ethics Committee shall advise the Executive Committee and the Executive Director on ethical standards as well as recommendations on practices and procedures to ensure that PEMSEA through the PRF shall be governed and functioning effectively and ethically. So far though, this Ethics Committee has not yet been convened as there had been no cases of misconduct. Nonetheless, it is important to have this committee established, and therefore the Executive Director would like to nominate the following as members for a duration of 3 years from July 31 to 2021 to June 30, 2023. The nominees are Mr. Yin Feng Ko, the Ecosystem and Biodiversity Management Specialist from the Ministry of Natural Resources in China, Attorney Tess Lacerna, a current legal policy consultant of the PRF, and then Mr. Won Lee Kim, the current head of planning and partnership development of the PRF, and also at the same time a deputized officer from the Ministry of Ocean and Fisheries in RO Korea. Then going over to the Committee of Discipline, the Executive Director, subject to EC's approval, is tasked to create a Committee on Discipline, which shall be responsible for conducting investigations on allegations of ethical misconduct or violations of the Code of Ethics for PEMSEA personnel. Similar with the Ethics Committee, this has not been convened. The Executive Director proposes to amend the composition of this committee, therefore changing Section B.14 of the Rules on Reporting and Investigation of Violations of the Code of Ethics, as indicated on this slide below. And then next, on the Audit Committee, this committee is already existing. This was established to provide the Partnership Council, the Executive Committee, and Executive Director with external objective advice and oversight regarding PEMSEA strategies and management functions. One of the existing members, Assistant Director Dayan Maharjan of the Philippines National Economic and Development Authority, expressed her willingness to extend her term for another 3 years from June 6, 2021 to June 4, 2024. Meanwhile, Pa-Arif, as Council Chair, agreed to replace former Assistant Secretary Corazon Davis of the Philippines Department of Environment and Natural Resources as the committee chair and as the Executive Committee's representative in the same body for her remaining term until July 2022. The extension of Ms. Maharjan and appointment of Pa-Arif have been endorsed by the chairs of the Partnership Council and the Technical Intergovernmental Sessions. The other member, however, this is the remaining member of the Audit Committee, declined to extend her term. As such, the PRF would like to nominate Ms. Nerissa Kindara, as she has extensive experience on the financial management of UNDP projects. She is being nominated as the remaining member of the Audit Committee. In this case, the actions required from the intergovernmental session as with regards to all three committees are as follows. First is the council approval of the nominees to the ethics committee. Second, the council approval of the proposed amendment of section B.14 of the rules on reporting and investigation of the violations of the code of ethics for PEMSEA personnel. And then lastly, the approval of Ms. Kindara as the new member of the audit committee to complete said committee by the chairs of the council and its technical intergovernmental sessions for onward endorsement to the council for final approval. May I suggest, Chair, to go over this one by one as each point will be covered by different approving authorities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. C. So now the intergovernmental session are required to review and approve the country approval of the nominee to the ethics committee. So do you have any question or comment regarding this? Or if no, do you approve the nominees to the ethics committee? I hear no, I see no response. It means that all of the country partners agree for this one. And the second point, I would like to request the intergovernmental session to review and approve the approval of the proposed amendment of section B.14 of the rules on reporting and investigation of violations of the Code of Ethics for PEMSEA personnel. So do you have any question or comment regarding this? So I see no question or comment. So I would like to suggest that all country partners approve this one. And the third point I would like to request the intergovernmental session is the approval of Ms. Kindara as a new member of the audit committee by the chair of the council and its technical and intergovernmental session for onward endorsement to the council for final approval. So do you have any question or comment for this item? I see no question or comment. So I would like to suggest that all country partners approve this one. So thank you very much. And as you see that now we finish the agenda item 10.0. Now we are going to the last item 11.0 as a business. So do any country partner have any other business to raise? Or ED or EC member, you have any other business to raise to the intergovernmental session?
None from my end, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Please.
I have no, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So I have not seen any idea regarding this one, any comment or suggestion. Now, I would like to close the intergovernmental session. Thank you very much, everyone, for contributing to this session. And we have successfully completed, and we have a very good consensus among all the country partners. And now I would like to invite
Dr. Ka,
Mr. Chair.
Timor-Leste, raise the hand.
Timor-Leste. So please. So I would like to invite Timor-Leste. to talk on this?
I hope he's not on mute, Dr. Celestino.
Perhaps what is he incidentally? He put what is he raise the hand.
I've not seen this. Maybe some. I have not seen.
If nothing further, if nothing further, Mr. Chair, maybe we can proceed with the closing remark.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Director Celestino. Yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine, Director.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Loud and clear, Dr. Celestino.
I'm just commenting there. Can you allow me to, what is the comment, some comment from the before we talk about the finance? Can you allow me to some topic of the finance operation in each country?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The next slide, Karen. The previous slide, this one. Yes.
Yeah. This one. I think this what is expectation, yeah, from the PRF. We just comment that the number here, maybe we from the Timor-Leste side, with just technical perspective, we want to inform that our high level, yeah, to how to approve this expectative from the PRF side. I think this maybe we inform that later on the what is some days later for the what is the PRF side.
Yes, thank you. So, Didi, do you have any comment on this one?
Yes, we will have some bilateral discussions with Timor-Leste, Mr. Chair. The reason why this was prepared was that the assumption is that countries will continue to support PRF operations through the current CSAs. But if there are some changes, hopefully it will be maintained but not reduced. But we will have a discussion with Timor-Leste and we will appraise you in due course. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Edie. Dr. Celestino.
I think is generally we from Timor-Leste side fully support PEMSEA how to help our what is community and then society and then fishermen all in the partners country. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Timor-Leste. So, Philippines. So I would like to invite Philippines for your.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So since we went back to the slide, so I just want to put on record the Philippines continuously would support the PRF and particularly also the hosting of the PRF at the DNR compound. So, and we look forward to having more projects with the PRF in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Philippines. Yeah. other country partner, do you have any more questions or comments?
No comments so far, Mr. Chair.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. So, I would like to close the intergovernmental session, and I would like to invite Dr. Moninit as a PC co-chair to give the closing remarks and adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ka, for giving me the floor for the closing remarks. Good afternoon, everyone. To our dear council members, and I'm sure today must have been the long but productive 2 days for everyone, and as I make this a short time. First, I would like to thank our country and non-country partners for their active participation and for making the time and efforts to join us and prepare for this meeting. This meeting is very important also as we embark on the consultation process to developing the Ministerial Declaration. Yesterday, we learned that we have made progress on the current Sustainable Development Strategy for Sea of East Asia, SDS-SEA implementation plan, and discuss how we can move forward in implementing the key priority strategies on the coast and ocean for EAS region for the next decade, taking into account countries' needs and priority as reflects in the current and upcoming activities. As Mr. Arif, EAS Partnership Council Chair, mentioned yesterday, the end goal is to create the robust declaration that country ministers can agree and adopt in the next 3 years. This will send a strong signal to the rest of the world that the partnership is committed to take action based on its abilities, experience, and resources to fulfill its goal commitments. We will conduct additional rounds of the consultation in the months leading to the 28th Executive Committee meeting in October, where we will invite both country and non-country partners to discuss and ensure that the draft reflects our shared commitment on fostering biodiversity and habitat restoration, climate resilience, and circular economy, as well as the agree on PRF financial and operational sustainability to the continue assisting the partnership among others. The target is to have final draft in time for the senior government official meeting in November. More detail on this should be provided by PRF in good time, along with the necessary information and documents to facilitate the creation of the technical working group on drafting the next SDS-SEA implementation plan. I also wish to extend sincere thanks to my fellow executive committee members for the regular direction and guidance provided to our partners and to PRF for their dedication in making this meeting possible and for the accomplishments in terms of operationalizing SDS-SEA despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope to secure our country partners' endorsement of the project proposal for PRF next big ticket action initiative. As the ED already presented the just on the to the meeting, I think probably the active initiative like the integrated river basin management project, low solution project, and also effective managing an ecological network of the PMA in the large coast in the ASEAN region. I think this is very important that we just supporting on the presentation just now. Once again, I thank you and look forward to seeing you in EAS Congress, hopefully face to face in the next council meetings next year. So thank you everyone for your good cooperation and we very productively meeting. Thank you. The meeting is closed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And see all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Moninit.
Yeah. See you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone, particularly to Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edie, Amy.
Thank you.
For everything.
Thank you, all country partners and
Dr. Ka.
and ED. And
Thank you, Mr. Long. Thank you, Dr. Ka.
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Moninit.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Please try to
Karen, don't forget to share your picture.